Hi there, and welcome to a very merry BigLipz podcast. This week, as I'm sure you can tell, we're going all out with the Christmas theme because it is that time of year. So I'm hosting this week. My name is Sam Macaulay Blair, and as ever, I'm joined by the wonderful Catherine Maurice. We are sort of two former and current film students who gather every couple of weeks to discuss movies because we are fans. So. As mentioned, this week we are tackling the subject of Christmas movies. So I've gone for a very sort of Christmas themed structure to this one. To begin with, we are going to look at the nice, the sort of the cream of the crop, our favourite Christmas films. And then we're going to look at the naughty, the ones that are maybe a little bit more mature. As the Christmas movies with some adult themes or content or some violence, and then we'll look at the nasty, the ones that we are not so hot on, and finally we're going to look over a wish list. We're going to both discuss sort of films that are upcoming, maybe Christmassy, maybe not, that we're excited about. So to begin with, Catherine, what makes a Christmas movie in your opinion?
So I adore Christmas time. I love Christmas music. I love Christmas presents, and I do love Christmas movies. And I think this is really funny. I think if you asked my fiance what makes a Christmas movie, his answer would simply be cheese, and I think he's partly right because I think you definitely need a good bit of cheese in a Christmas movie. Something that you're watching and you're just almost cringing but not quite. And I feel like that's just the truth, the spirit of Christmas. Because Christmas, it's all about that. Like, these jumpers, you wouldn't wear a jumper like this, potentially, during the year. I remember I was out shopping recently and saw, like, a grown woman just wandering about with a Santa hat on, which I was loving it. But I think in terms of movies, I feel like you know when you're watching a Christmas movie most of the time because it kind of gives you that, like, almost like sickly sweet feeling that comes from all the cheese. I think a big part for me as well for Christmas movies is like comedy. I think Christmas movies by and large tend to be really funny, obviously to try and lighten the moods. You don't want to be watching like a dreary, depressing movie at Christmas, 9 times out of 10 anyway. I think as well, like as a viewer, you need to kind of accept what it is that you're watching. And you can't go into a Christmas movie and like maybe critique it the way you would any other movie.
Yeah.
Necessarily. Which is probably down to the cheese factor that we were chatting about. And I think a part of what makes a good Christmas movie is like the way that you watch it. Like we've spoken before about different things like that. But I think part of the fun of watching a Christmas movie is if you're all wrapped up in a blanket and you're sitting in the living room, you've got your Christmas tree on. You've got tea or hot chocolate or a hot mulled wine or whatever it is you want to drink. I think as well, because I imagine it's going to get mentioned at some point in the podcast, I feel like technically speaking, I don't necessarily think that a movie set at Christmas is a Christmas movie.
Okay.
Because I know my argument for this is, of course, the movie I mentioned in almost every podcast, which is Bridget Jones. Because that movie kind of starts and ends with Christmas.
I genuinely
what
thought...
What are you saying?
Sorry, just to interject, I genuinely thought you were going to mention Jaws again. And I was like, I don't know how.
No, that would have been very...
But I'm here for it. Sorry, as you were saying.
I love it. No, Bridget Jones. I'm desperately racking my brains now to think how I can pull Jaws in. But maybe we'll get there. So Bridget Jones kind of starts at Christmas. I think it starts on Boxing Day, actually, to be precise, and then it kind of goes the year of Bridget's life and ends up back at Christmas. But I wouldn't count that as a Christmas movie because I think how I would judge it is if you could watch that movie all year round, it's not really a Christmas movie.
Yeah.
And I think one movie that I personally probably wouldn't class as a Christmas movie is The Nightmare Before Christmas. Because I used to always class it as a Halloween movie, but then I watched it at Halloween and thought, this is a Christmas movie. And then I watched it at Christmas, and I was like, this isn't a Christmas movie. So
It's weird, that one,
who
isn't
knows?
it?
It's a weird one. Who knows what it is?
I would actually agree on that one. I don't think, I think Nightmare Before Christmas is an odd one because it feels too like gothicy and spooky for it to be a Christmas movie, but then there is also like the sentimental, sweet aspect of it that does make it really weird to watch around Halloween.
It was a weird experience watching it at Halloween because as I was watching, I was like, this is definitely not a Halloween movie.
I'd like.
What about you? What do you think?
I agree. I would say I'm very much on the same sort of wavelength. I think like Christmas movies are like hot chocolates, aren't they? You know, they're supposed to be quite warm. They're supposed to be quite sweet. You know, and I think again, like you say, I would actually agree about the whole being set at Christmas time, not necessarily making a film a Christmas film, because there's almost like a feel to Christmas movies, I think, which is sort of like implaceable, but. It's the same with it's like Christmas songs. Like if you hear a Christmas song in July, it feels wrong. And I think when you said, you know, if you can watch a Christmas movie any time of year, then it's not a Christmas movie. So I think that's probably the best kind of indicator. But for me, there has to be like, it's just, again, Christmas movies are supposed to be nice. Obviously, as we're going to discuss later on, there are like mature sort of like Christmassy movies, but that just feels like they don't feel like Christmas films to me. They just feel like I guess like an expression.
They're weird. They're kind of almost like a kind of like subgenre in themselves.
Yeah, that's a very good way to put it, actually, because they don't really fit in like that properly with the genre that they're a part of. They do sort of stand out a bit. I guess it gives them like a weird sort of identity. But it does. I think often it does kind of feel like they're the two elements contrast. I don't think they necessarily complement each other. Like I do find like violent movies set around Christmas time can be quite weird. I mean, again, sometimes with some films it is kind of the point that they're making, is like they're using that contrast to their advantage. But I do think some of them have like I guess we might as well start talking about actual movies than just talking vaguely. But like for instance, Iron Man 3, which okay. I know weird pick, but it's just, again, like that movie's set around Christmas time. Like Christmas is like plays a role in the narrative and stuff, and every time I'm just like, what a weird choice. Like, it's not like,
I actually haven't seen that. I think I've only seen the first two.
I really dig Iron Man 3. It gets a lot of flack because of some of the narrative choices it makes, but I really dig it. It's like quite a fun movie. I think there's like a lot of like strong jokes and some clever moments and stuff, but it's not a Christmas movie. And again, I think like all the action and explosions and stuff, I mean, again, like blockbusters come out at Christmas time, and you watch blockbusters at Christmas time, but they're not Christmas movies. They are different. And I think when you have a film like Iron Man 3, if you're watching it, it feels a little bit off. You can still watch it any time of year, but it then feels a little bit off when you are. And I think that's the thing. I think it kind of hurts the movie in that sense, because it's just like the Christmas element doesn't really add that much. It doesn't really succeed in being a nice sort of happy Christmas movie.
Like it could have been set at any other time, really. But they wanted some nice Christmas trees in the background.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the movie came out in April the year it was released, so it was a summer movie, so it makes it even weirder that like
that is weird.
They had like the Christmas element. Like I don't know when they shot it either. I don't know if they shot it at Christmas time. If so, that must have been nice for them, but I don't think it really translates.
It's funny because you think about like actual Christmas movies, and they're never, because of the time it takes to edit and post-production and stuff, they're never actually shot around Christmas time. Because I'm sure I'm reading that It's a Wonderful Life was shot in like the height of summer, and you can see like James Stewart sweating profusely throughout the movie.
Exactly. I've heard it's one thing I've heard writers talk about as well, is writing Christmas movies, because you just or TV episodes as well, where often you're writing them in summer, and it's just a really weird thing to try and like get your head into the Christmas spirit.
That's true. Yeah. Can you imagine? Because people are so against people being Christmassy before Christmas as well.
I know.
It must be a hard life.
Exactly. Or maybe it's not. Maybe those are the people that put that because they start selling like Christmas stuff in like September, don't they? In some shops.
Yeah.
You get places that put Christmas trees up at that time and stuff as well. It's probably the people that make these movies are probably those people. Has to be.
That's true, yeah. There's some crossover.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it is an interesting one why you would go down the route of making a Christmas film as a filmmaker, because I don't know. I wonder what the
Maybe it's like with if you make a hit Christmas song, you get money every single year. Maybe it's the same with a Christmas movie.
That is very, very true. Thinking of it, thinking of those dollar bills.
Exactly. Get royalties.
Exactly. Well, I mean, it takes care of the Christmas shopping as well.
That's true, yeah. You would just wait for your royalty checks to come in and then start.
Exactly. Okay, now I'm saying you're convincing me here.
Now it makes sense.
Oh dear. So obviously, nice to hear that we agree on what makes a Christmas film. So I'm now curious, Catherine, what are the nice for you? What are your favourite Christmas films?
So my absolute favourite has got to be Muppets Christmas Carol. Because it's just
What a pick.
everything about it is perfect. It's so Christmassy. It's got the Muppets, which are amazing. I love the Muppets. They're always hilarious.
Love a good Muppet.
Yeah, it's got like the quintessential Christmas story, which is obviously A Christmas Carol. It's got everything. It's got the humour. It's got songs. It's got Michael Caine in his possibly his best role. I don't know. I would argue it's maybe his best role.
Well, I heard he gives a pretty good performance in the Jaws sequels. So
That's true. That's true. We have spoken about that before. But I feel like it's just. It's one of those movies where it just warms my heart every time I see it, and it's one of the ones I've managed to like watch in the cinema. A couple of Christmases ago,
have you?
which was, yeah, it was amazing. I think you should check it out. I think it's on like most years in the cinema.
I did have a look at Odeon, and they seem to be doing like a lot of different Christmas movies on like different dates. Which
Yeah.
I think is a really nice idea, because it's like if hopefully a lot of people get to see their favourite Christmas film on a big screen. Did they do anything special for it? Like was it just the movie screening, or was there anything they did like in addition to it to make it more Christmassy?
It was just the movie screening, but I was talking about it to someone at work recently, and he had said that his sister went and they had like a whole kind of like live orchestra thing while they were playing the movie as well.
That's incredible.
Which sounds amazing. It was hilarious though. He said that she was disappointed because she thought she was actually seeing the Muppets like on stage. Which is hilarious and would have been amazing, but so I think she was slightly disappointed because her expectations were so high.
Yeah, understandable. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a shame. Well, what a shame, because it sounds like such a great experience as well. But if you went in with that expectation, you could only be disappointed.
Yeah. I can imagine her just sitting there like, I thought the Muppets were actually going to be here.
I wanted to meet Kermit the Frog.
So funny. Another of my favourites is The Grinch, the Jim Carrey version. I can never remember what it's actually called because I always just refer to it as The Grinch.
It's not the Grinch Who Stole Christmas?
I think so.
Yeah.
Or How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
Maybe.
Yeah, I can't remember. But that one I think is so funny. I think it's very like because obviously it's Dr. Seuss. It's very over the top, which makes it a bit more magical. Like everything looks a bit otherworldly.
Yeah.
So it does like a really good job of creating this whole kind of idea of Whoville being like at this really Christmassy place. And it's funny because have you seen the newer Grinch?
Is Benedict Cumberbatch in it?
Yeah.
No, I have not.
I wouldn't bother.
Is it bad?
It's not great, and I think if you compare it to this one, which is what I did, it's yeah.
It's not a favourable comparison.
No, it's not very fair. I think as well the Grinch is such a good cast. Like all of the adults are like really funny in their own way. I think Martha Mayhew is hilarious, and Jim Carrey obviously is very funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
Another one I really enjoy, which I'm always slightly embarrassed to admit, but it's The Holiday.
Really? I only saw that for the first time last year.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
I feel like The Holiday is very different to my other choices, but I still feel like it's very Christmassy.
Yeah.
It's also not quite as like overly upbeat as the other ones as well, which is nice. But as I say, I do think it feels very Christmassy. Again, it's got a great cast. And then another really weird one that I always enjoy, and I'm not embarrassed to admit this actually. I was going to say I'm embarrassed, but I'm not. Is the movie Deck the Halls?
I've never seen that.
With Matthew Broderick and Danny DeVito. Well, I was looking it up, and apparently I'm the only one who enjoys it. I think it's, in my opinion, criminally underrated. I think it's so funny. It's very like slapstick kind of way where if you get into it, you get really into it. So you're watching it and you're like, oh no! It's very funny. But it's one that I always try to watch like every single year.
Oh, I love that. I love that. You raise a good point. I mean, you mentioned this again in the sort of opening part as well. You said about the fact that you can't really look at Christmas films the way that you look at normal films. That you don't really hold them to the same standards, and I think that's quite interesting because I do think that Christmas films are like such a subjective thing. Like it's you know, if you have your favorite Christmas films and it's like that's fine. It's kind of like everyone. I think everyone's opinions on like Christmas films I think varies wildly. I feel like everyone has like their own sort of favorites, and it just comes down to like it's like personal reasons or just like you watched it at like the right time or at a certain age or traditionally. So I think it's one.
Yeah, I think even just sometimes like a kind of movie like that where if the first time you've watched it, if you've been in a good mood, you're gonna have a great time.
Exactly. Exactly. It makes all the difference.
Yeah, I think just quickly another few that I wanted to mention were the Santa Claus, with Tim Allen. It's great. Arthur Christmas. It's another one which is very good. Of course, Home Alone, which I've watched. I've already watched the first two. The only two worth watching. And then another.
Not the new sequel.
Another. Not that I haven't seen it, so I couldn't possibly judge. And then lastly, the one I wanted to mention was Jingle All the Way, which is in the same kind of vein as Deck the Halls.
Not seen that either. Is that the one with Schwarzenegger?
Yeah.
I want to see that.
And with the little boy who is... Yeah, it's actually the little boy that's in it is a young Anakin Skywalker as well. Yeah,
that's like Jake Lloyd was like one of the only films he made because he very quickly gave up acting.
Yep.
Dear. Very, very good picks to be fair. My
I could have gone on forever.
My number one pick is Arthur Christmas, funnily enough.
So good, isn't it?
It's such a good film. Weirdly enough, I only watched that, it was like 5-6 years ago now.
I was the same, yeah.
Granted, it's not that old a movie, but I remember, I think it was Christmas time. I remember my mum had it on TV, or she just had the TV on because she loves doing that at Christmas time, just puts the TV on. Because they just obviously they have like Christmas films and stuff like that, so it's quite nice to just sort of like she'll be doing stuff and she just kind of likes to be able to like dip in and out of watching things. Adds a lot of atmosphere, I think. But Arthur Christmas.
I always like having like a Christmas movie on when you're putting the tree up. I always think it's just nice and Christmassy.
I did last year. I watched Arthur Christmas and did all my like Christmas present wrapping. Same time.
That's another great time to watch a Christmas movie.
Yeah, it was a lovely experience, to be honest.
Yeah,
I'm a very big fan of it. Like I think it's just like a very nice movie. It's very funny. It's quite clever.
It's very funny.
One of Aardman's finest. Because it is Aardman, isn't it? The people that do Wallace and Gromit and Flushed Away.
Yeah.
No, I think it's some of the best work. Really good cast as well. Like I remember noticing that last year. Was when the credits rolled, I was like, my god.
Yeah, like it's like never ending all these names that come.
Literally, yeah, because there's a couple that I remember discussing it with someone I was watching it with at the time, and we were like trying to figure out certain like voice actors, and then again we like successfully guessed I think a couple, but then when the credits were coming up, we were like, oh, we missed a lot of actors that were actually in this.
Yep.
But yeah, no.
Arthur Christmas has got such a lovely Christmassy story, like at its core, like what we were talking about, where all he wants to do is make sure that everyone gets a Christmas present, and that's the most Christmassy thing I've ever heard.
Exactly, yeah, and it's such like an inventive idea as well. Like I just think it's like such a lovely like constructed. It is like a proper like love letter to Christmas and to the spirit of Christmas. And that's what I love about it. Home Alone is another one as well that I mean, that is top of my list as well. Which I actually have not seen Home Alone in quite a few years now.
I know. That's another one I went to the cinema to see.
Oh, really? That must have been brilliant.
Yeah. It was good.
That's the thing. Like I don't traditionally, like, I don't have, like, I don't rewatch the same, like, Christmas movies every single year. I mean, I probably would if I had more time. Well, actually,
Sure.
what I'd probably like to do is rotate, like, every few years, have, like, different ones that I watch every like other year. And I watched Arthur Christmas last year, so I'll probably miss that one.
So something new this year.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, I might watch Home Alone this year, to be fair, because it's been an age. But
Yeah.
that's Home Alone's a bit as violent as a Christmas movie should get. That's
Yes,
that
100%. Even then, there's times in Home Alone where I'm like, oh, Kevin.
I know, boy.
There was like, I watched the second one recently, and there's one scene when it's like a good 5 minute scene, and he's just throwing bricks at their faces. I'm like, Kevin, that's a brick.
Yeah.
It's throwing it from a height.
Yeah, that's not even manslaughter. That is attempted murder, like, through and through.
100%.
It's not a small building he's on either.
Exactly.
I think I was struck by that exact moment when last time I watched Home Alone 2, because I was just like, that is actually death. Like,
Yeah.
you would not be surviving the velocity of that impact. Another one that this is I have a weird relationship with. I also really dig Elf. But I thought that'd be your reaction. But the weird thing about it is, like, I seem to I like have enjoyed it more over time. Like, the first time I watched it when I was actually a kid, I don't think I really cared for it, and then it's almost like every single time I've watched it, the older I've, like, again, I've watched it, like, intermittently throughout my life, and every single time I think I've watched it, I've enjoyed it more than the previous time, and it's really bizarre.
Maybe I should give it another go.
Yeah, give it another chance. Like, I don't know why. Like, I just remember really not, like, caring for it at all when I was a kid. Like, I don't think I found it that funny or that interesting. And then I think the sort of sweet Christmassy parts won me over more and more.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, no,
Hitting the feels.
yeah, exactly. I have a lot of fun with Elf now. It's got a place in my heart. Cool. So we've obviously discussed some of the nice Christmas movies. So next up, the naughty. So what films, as we mentioned, that we're not really counting as, like, proper Christmas films, sort of like mature Christmassy movies. What are some of your faves of those?
So when I was thinking about this, it was really difficult because I realised that I don't generally watch movies that aren't, like,
All in on the Christmas
that aren't
stuff.
overly Christmassy. Yeah.
Yeah.
One movie that I have seen that I watched when I was maybe 16, 17 for the first time was Gremlins. And I didn't massively care for it because I didn't know
really?
it was a Christmas movie. Yeah, going in, I didn't know it was a Christmas movie, and then obviously it kind of opened with this Christmassy scene, and I was like, oh, maybe it must be a Christmas movie. And then stuff started to get real, and the gremlins were running about all over the joint, ruining everything. And I think I was just like, what is this? What is going on here? And that, yeah, because there's the whole scene in the kitchen when, like, one of them's in the blender, one of them goes in the microwave. Yeah. I feel like had I known it was, like, a mature Christmassy movie, I didn't even know it was, like, kind of, like, scary-ish. The only understanding I had of Gremlins was Gizmo, like, when he's a cute little fluffy thing, and that was it. So I don't know how, because I watched this in, like, mid-2000s and it came out in like the 80s, so I don't know how I'd missed everything about it.
Yeah, no, that's really weird. Like, Gremlins was just completely off your radar.
100%. Like, I'd obviously heard of it enough to be like, yeah, I'll watch Gremlins.
That's what I was going to ask. I was going to say how you
just
ended up watching it. You did seek it out. It wasn't like it was just on TV and you were like, yeah, I'll give this a go.
No, I had, like, sought it out, and I can't remember for the life of me whether I watched it at Christmas or not. Because that would probably have added to my confusion had I not watched it at Christmas.
Yeah, no, you watched it in like July or something. You probably would have been like, "What's going on?
Exactly.
What am I doing here?"
Well, I was very confused. One movie that I did enjoy was the movie Bad Mums Christmas.
Have I seen that? I don't think I've seen that. No.
I think, as surprising as it is, I think that the Bad Mums movies are actually really funny. I think, which is not too surprising because it does have a really funny cast.
How many of them are there?
Well, there's Mila Kunis.
No, I mean, how many Bad Moms movies are there?
Oh, how many movies?
I think it was a franchise.
I think there's like 3. I think there's
Really?
like 1, 2, and then Christmas. Yeah.
Oh wow.
They're pretty funny.
When are they doing Bad Moms Go to Space?
Yeah, that would be good. That's so funny. But this one, the Bad Moms Christmas, is basically like their overbearing mothers come for Christmas, and then the mums decide that they're not gonna be like typical mums at Christmas. They're just gonna go wild, and it sounds really cheesy and terrible, and it is a wee bit cheesy and terrible, but it is also very funny. And that was about it with my kind of mature-ish movies. And I think very funny, I'm going to bring it back round to Bridget Jones. Even though I've literally just said that I don't class it as a Christmas movie, I do always make a point of watching it at Christmas. And I couldn't tell you why. I think it's just...
You just like an excuse to watch
I think it's more just like, yeah, tradition, nostalgia. It was always like, if I was like in the house by myself over Christmas while people were doing things, I would just watch it because I watch it so often that no one wants to watch it with me. So so it's kind of like turned into like a Christmassy tradition.
That's nice. I think you mentioned Gremlins. Gremlins is definitely one of mine. And I think Gremlins is probably the one that comes like the closest, despite obviously having like a lot of violence. I feel like probably comes the closest to being a Christmas movie, because there is still like a lot of sentimentality in it. Like, it is. Yeah, it does. I think it does make full use of the Christmassy stuff. I think it like pretty much. I think it's like it pushes it. It gets as close as a film could get, I think, without being a Christmas movie, in my eyes. But yeah, it's Gremlins is definitely one of mine. I really enjoy Die Hard. But again, I just in my head it's not like a Christmas movie at all. And
I don't even think I've seen it the whole way through, so I don't tend to get in on the arguments about it because I'm like, I don't know enough about it.
There's like Christmas elements and stuff, but again, I don't think that like, yeah, for me it just does not feel like a Christmas movie at all. And all the best bits of the movie have like nothing to do with Christmas, so yeah, it's not a Christmas one for me. Another one that I saw a couple years ago that I really enjoyed was Bad Santa. Which is
I actually haven't seen it.
It's very dark.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think that's why, because I never really cared about, like, again, it was a couple of years ago when I was visiting my family in China, and we obviously watched a bunch of Christmas movies together, and I don't think any of us had seen Bad Santa. I had like no real desire to watch it. I don't think I knew anything. I literally knew like nothing about it. But I was like, yeah, stick it on. Like it's a Christmas film I haven't seen. Like might as well. Like it'd be nice to experience something new. But I had my expectations were very low. And I think I think it was the same for all of us, because I just remember like I think we were maybe like talking or whatever, and then the movie started, and I think I just remember like we were all suddenly paying like more and more attention, and laughing quite a lot. And I think I genuinely like was so surprised at just like how sort of bleak and dark a film it is. Like it does really push like it's like an adult comedy, but it does really like push that. So yeah, no, Bad Santa is one that I would definitely recommend giving a watch, because it is actually very entertaining. Just be prepared that it's like it is the opposite of a Christmas movie in the sense that it is quite unpleasant a lot of the time.
Okay.
But obviously does obviously, like, I mean, it's called Bad Santa. It does use it uses Christmas as like a plot device, but in a way that makes sense. Like I feel like you couldn't make that movie not be about Christmas. With that one, it's like I get the there's like narrative justification for that one, whereas like Die Hard, you could make Die Hard without it being set at Christmas time. So
yeah, it could just be an office party.
Exactly. And even Gremlins, like Gremlins, as much as like it does really use all the Christmas elements, and obviously it starts with a gift. It could have been like a birthday gift. Like it doesn't have to be at Christmas time. The snow and stuff is really nice for the aesthetic and everything. It does really add to it, but yeah, it doesn't. Gremlins, you could make a version of Gremlins that isn't set at Christmas time, and I think you'd pull it off.
Yeah.
Cool. So with the naughty out of the way, it's time to get the knives out and look at the lumps of coal. The sort of our least favourite Christmas films. I have an inkling that one of ours is going to be the same. I think we're pretty sure we've discussed it on the podcast before, if I'm not mistaken. So Catherine,
I think we might have.
You want to go ahead and tell us yours?
So, I feel like anyone who I've ever spoken to knows how much I hate this movie. And that is, of course, The Polar Express.
Yes.
Yes. I think this movie is just awful. Like, absolutely awful. I just think it's dreadful. I think everyone, as I said, everyone I've spoken to, even just passingly about Christmas, is just awful. I think the thing that stands out most for me is the kind of nightmare-inducing animation, which is we've spoken about before, where it's just awful. And it came out in a time where there was no need for that to be that awful.
Exactly. And a Christmas movie of all places for that to happen is just like, it's not what you need.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it works so like the kind of against it.
Yeah. It looks like the kind of thing where if you're watching like a different even like if you're watching like a TV show, maybe like Rick and Morty or Family Guy or whatever, and it's like they have gone into this horrifying, like a cutaway where they've gone into some kind of horrifying nightmare of a Christmas movie. That's what it's like.
I actually get what you mean,
Yeah. I think I have little to no editing skills, but I feel like if I went into some kind of animation software, I could probably make one that looks slightly better that wouldn't be as nightmarish. I don't know who made the movie. I don't know how much they got paid, but clearly it was too much, because wow, it's just awful. I think as well, much as I love Tom Hanks and everyone does, why was he playing all the characters? Like, it was kind of like they were trying to do, and they do it in a lot of movies. Obviously, Peter Pan does it, where kind of like Captain Hook is also the children's dad. But there was no reason for him to be all of the parts. I didn't even think that the story was very good, from what I can remember. Basically, there's like a bell, but I can't even remember. Something to do with the bell, and then if you hear the bell,
I can't
believe in Santa or something. Yeah,
I can't really remember what's going on in that one either, and it's because I remember watching it as a kid and kind of being confused and just being like, why are they on a train, and like, does this affect everyone? Like, it's just weird. Yeah. Like, I don't think the movie does a very good job of like establishing like its universe, or it's like I guess like justifying its existence.
Yep. I think as well a train journey, like if you think of other movies when they have a journey, like you think of the Santa Claus and they have this magical journey to the North Pole and they're in a sleigh and then they get to the North Pole and it's like there's like the actual pole and it's like everything about it's magical, and then you think of the Polar Express and you're like, all right, they were on a train with other kids and there was a kind of scary conductor who was going around. Like,
it's a steam engine, like why? Like, yeah,
like trains aren't fun.
I know. I
would argue.
Exactly, and they're not very Christmassy either. I've never sat in a train and thought, wow, do you know, this would make a great Christmas movie. Like,
yeah, I can't even remember if the train was decorated. I do remember the conductor being quite scary, but that could have just been the animation. Or...
No, there's definitely some like creepiness in that film. There's definitely some like intentional creepiness, which also just again, it's just a weird direction to take it.
Yeah. I feel like even once they got to like kind of the North Pole or where Santa was or whatever, I remember it just looked weird. It didn't look like what you would imagine kind of like Santa's grotto would look like.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And the way that you've seen it depicted in so many other movies.
Yeah, exactly. I remember thinking that as well, actually, that this is not the North. I mean, very on brand for the rest of the movie, but this is not like the North Pole, but it should be delivering. It's interesting, I think, that Tom Hanks basically bookends like this spectrum of animated movies, like animation movies quality, because you have like the Polar Express on like one extreme, and then like the Toy Story movies on the other.
Yeah.
Like everything in between. But yeah, no, the Polar Express.
Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking.
It's
The worst part
horrifying.
about the Polar Express is that my sister watches it every year and still
Really?
maintains that it's good. Yeah.
Wow. I was gonna say I'm curious about like how it did in terms of like, you know, if it was like a successful movie, because they do show it every year, don't they? Is it on TV?
I think it managed to ride on the fact that it was advertised as a Christmas movie. So people maybe have watched it to be like, oh, there's a nice Christmas movie, and because I think that's why I watched it the first time.
Yep. Same. And I think it's probably one of those that I feel like it probably doesn't have that much as far as like Christmas movies and rewatchability goes. You probably find that a lot of people who are watching the Polar Express are people who have not seen the Polar Express. Whereas like every other Christmas movie, it's like the opposite, where it's like all these movies are generally watched by people who have seen them a million times.
Yep.
But yeah, no, it's
Yeah, I feel like the final 10% of people that are watching the Polar Express is my little sister.
you're probably right about that. I mean, like,
Yeah.
I guess it's funny because we did literally say that like, well, there's they're so subjective Christmas movies, and you know you can't really have like a wrong answer. But the Polar Express is the wrong answer for like.
Correct. 100%.
Like I would, it would change that is the only one that it would change my opinion of someone if they told me their favorite Christmas movie was the Polar Express.
Yeah.
They can have anything else. I'll take Die Hard. I'll accept that over the Polar Express because like
there's some hella sus about that.
Exactly. Yeah, there's some proper skeletons in someone's closet if they're their favorite film.
Exactly.
Xmas movies, the Polar Express. Oh dear.
Funny. But no, another movie I wanted to mention that I don't hate it, but I just don't feel like it's up to much. And that's Love Actually. I don't even know. I think we've spoken about it before. I don't think you've seen it, have you?
No, I have. So that is another one that is on mine because I really do not rate Love Actually, and it gets so much praise and so much love. And I just don't think it's a very good film. I even like it's Richard Curtis, I think, that writes and directs it, and I'm a fan of his. Like I like his work, but I just Love Actually for me is just it just felt. I watched it like again probably around the same time as Arthur Christmas. Actually, I think it might have been the same Christmas, and I remember just being like every single because there's like so many like storylines running, aren't there? And I think I remember thinking like, is this gonna get like good? Is it gonna get interesting? And it just didn't.
I know, I was chatting to my mum about it the other day where there's like one kind of storyline that I can even remember, and that's Alan Rickman and Emma Thompson. And it's not very cheery. It's not very Christmassy.
Exactly, and I kind of
basically he's having an affair and she finds out. I'm like, oh, happy Christmas.
I know, and it's and I appreciate that the movie has that like that goes in that direction. Like from like if I stand back, I can appreciate that, but I don't think it meshes with like the rest of the movie because like I think like pretty much every other storyline from what I remember ends on like a really positive note, and that one like doesn't.
It's a bit ridiculous, yeah.
Yeah, and that one ends on a really like dour note.
Yeah, that poor scene when she's crying in the bedroom and then has to pull herself together. I'm like, I don't want to watch that at Christmas.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, thanks. Like, and it's so weird. Like again, I could understand if maybe because from what again my memory of it isn't great, and I'm not planning on rewatching anytime soon. But yeah, if there was a bit more like variety, because again, from what I remember, most like every other story resolves in like a nice way. Like if there was a bit more variety and like some of them like ended on different notes, then I'd maybe get it. But it just feels really weird for it. Like everyone gets a happy ending except for you, Emma Thompson. Like
except Emma Thompson. Like what did she ever do to deserve that?
I know exactly. Oh, it's very weird. But yeah, it's just I think my least favorite storyline was what's his name? I was going to say he's the British guy, but like, a lot of them are British. um,
Is it the one with Keira Knightley?
No, it's not. It's it's the one with. This is really gonna annoy me.
Colin
Chris
Firth.
Marshall. Chris Marshall. That's who it is. And his storyline is literally that I think he has like one of the smallest ones. His storyline is that he thinks that he will be able to pull, if he goes to America, because like Americans love British.
January
British
Jones
guys.
is in it.
Is she?
Yeah, she's one of the girls.
he goes over to America and then he pulls, and that is literally it. I was like, there's no like that storyline maps itself out from the beginning, and it just happens exactly like that. And I was like, there's no surprise in there at all. There's no like lesson.
Yeah, because is it not like a threesome or something? And then because it feels very like this is a dream, but then it's never revealed that it's a dream.
Exactly. Yeah, I kept waiting for something like I thought it was maybe going to go like a darker route and something was going to happen, because I was like, this is going like better than he even expected. Like surely there's going to be some like surprise here.
Yeah.
And there just isn't. It's so weird. Like
that is a very weird. Yeah. The whole movie's just a bit like I don't know. I just don't get it. I think as well I place the blame for the kind of surge of like ensemble movies on this movie.
Yeah.
And ensemble movies are not great.
No, they're really not. I know, and it's weird that they're not, like, because they seem like something that would be quite easy to get right, like, because like obviously with the ensemble movies, you're doing like so many different. I guess that's the thing with like Love Actually is like I think that's the thing as well. I always see like the same like couple storylines talked about all the time with Love Actually as like why people like it, and I guess that's the advantage those movies have, is they probably can succeed if they just pull off a couple of the storylines, and even if they misfire with a lot of them. But that's why it's weird that like there aren't more good ensemble movies, because you would think they would only really need to pull off a few of like the ensemble bits like for it to work.
That's true.
And somehow they just don't. Like
yeah, they're just not my cup of tea.
No, they're vanity projects really, I think.
Yeah. What about you? Did you have any others on your list?
I don't think so. I had written down because I didn't know what your opinion on it was going to be. I had Nightmare Before Christmas because I'm not that big a fan of the film.
No,
again,
same.
Like I've never really I actually like, and I know that Tim Burton doesn't direct. It's technically not his film, which is so weird that like that
is
movie,
weird.
because like I feel like when people say Tim Burton, Nightmare Before Christmas is like the first film they think of. And it's so weird how he's like kind of catfished everyone or gaslighting everyone into thinking that that's like his movie. Like, I really feel for like the guy that like directed it, because it's just
I don't even know his name. That's
I don't either.
Part.
Yeah, I don't either, and I generally it's so bizarre. I just know the fact that it's not Tim Burton's film, but even then I always forget that, because I was gonna say
100%.
I was gonna say like I'm not the biggest Tim Burton fan either. And no, like one weirdly enough, I looked at like I was looking up lists of Christmas movies just to see if there was any that I'd forgotten, which of course there were. And yeah, one that was on like a Christmas movie list that I thought was another like big reach was Batman Returns, which is a Tim Burton film. And again, I think it might just be set at Christmas time, because I remember there's like snow in it, but
yeah, that's the only Christmassy thing that I can remember from it.
yeah, and I think that's really just there's justification for the penguin, because you can't really have it set like in the summer and have the penguin cutting about with penguins. Like it doesn't really work. So that's like, it's just like purely incidental, I think, if it is even set at Christmas time, because I can't think of any mention of Christmas in that film. But yeah, it's that was like that's what a weird pick for like a Christmas list on like the best. Yeah,
imagine, I think I would die of shock, more so than if someone said their favourite Christmas movie was Polar Express. Can you imagine if you said, what's your favourite Christmas movie, and the answer was Batman Returns?
I know, I would then just be like, have you ever seen any Christmas movies?
Yeah.
Like, what the hell? It's so odd. That's
Very
probably
much.
the most egregious of our doesn't count as a Christmas movie, and I feel like
Yeah.
no one involved in the making of that movie would argue that it's a Christmas movie either. I don't think that one shows at Christmas time, which really does say it
No.
all. Um, but yeah, no, not. I'm also just not that big a fan of Batman Returns, because again, not a big fan of Tim Burton. So
And those Batman movies are very Tim Burton.
yeah, they're very very Tim Burton. But yeah, no, that's pretty much it for the worst ones that I can think of. Love Actually is just in the Polar Express. Obviously, is but we have spoken about that before. But Love Actually for me is the biggest one that I wish
Yeah.
I almost
I
like
just
wish
don't
I
get
liked it. Yeah, I wish I liked it because there's so much love around it. But like again, first time I saw it, I was like, why was it not better?
Yeah. I feel like it kind of like Love Actually and The Holiday almost have similar kind of things, but Love Actually, The Holiday, sorry, has managed to figure out how to get multiple members of the cast, but have the story work and have
Yeah.
them actually interact with each other. It just feels like it's like a much better version of Love Actually.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say I wasn't in love with The Holiday, but I would definitely say
It's one of those
that-
ones like you with the elf, where every time I watch it, I enjoy it a bit more.
Oh really? I've only seen it the one time, so
Yeah.
maybe I should give it a second go. But I would say
Yeah.
like
If you watch that, I'll watch Elf.
okay, deal. But I would say with it that yeah, like in my head, I think that actually might be why I'm not that big a fan of it. Is I think it does remind me of Love Actually too much. I think it is, and I don't really know why, because it's not like, I guess it is the multiple storylines thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It must.
And
it
the
must
British actors, is that what's confusing me?
yeah. Yeah, exactly. That one as well. But yeah, definitely, I'd pick The Holiday over Love Actually any day. So,
Yeah.
I guess my support in that sense.
Love
Cool.
it.
So moving on to our last section then, the wish list section. So to begin with, since keeping it on theme, are there, and I realised this when I was doing my Christmas movie research, is there's a lot of Christmas movies that I have not seen but I am keen to see. So are there any films, are there any Christmas films that you haven't seen but you have always kind of meant to or always kind of wanted to?
I think I always want to watch It's a Wonderful Life, but every single year I'm always like, I think because I know it's very old, it's black and white. I think it's very long.
Yeah.
I think I want to watch it because it's one of those must-see kind of movies, but I've never quite been feeling it that much to actually watch it.
I am exactly the same. I have also not seen It's a Wonderful Life, and I always also, to make it worse as well, I think every single year I tell someone new that I've not seen it, and they're always like, "What? You've not seen It's a Wonderful Life?" And then they always say, they're like, "We're gonna watch it this Christmas," and it is yet to happen.
Never seen it. I love it. Yeah, there's that. I recently, just like 2 days ago, and it wasn't, I don't even know why I watched it, because it wasn't one that I wanted to watch particularly, but it was the movie Last Christmas, and that movie did not know what it wanted to be.
What is Last Christmas?
It's the one that came out recently. Emilia Clarke was in it, and it was like songs
Oh.
from George Michael.
Okay.
But yeah, maybe yeah. It was. I described it to Ryan as watchable, and that's about as high as my praise got. Yeah.
Oh dear. I mean, at least it was
But
watchable.
yeah, true. I was watching it and I was like, oh, I'm almost enjoying it. I think I can't think of any other Christmassy movies that I always want to watch. I feel like I do that really kind of egotistical thing where I'm like, well, I already know what the best ones are, so I don't have to watch any other ones.
That's it. You're not really in the market for like new Christmas movies, are you?
Yeah, I'm like,
Like-
I've got my set.
yeah, that's yeah, exactly. Like there's a lot of them as well, so it's like you don't really need to keep adding onto the list. And yeah, the older you get, I think the harder it is to kind of be converted onto loving like Christmas movies. Arthur Christmas is like
Yeah.
a rare exception, I'd say. Have you ever
I
seen?
think as well because
Sorry.
Not sorry. I think because you've just got such a short period of time, you like almost get a bit panicky. Like, oh well, if I watch that, I might not have time to watch
Yeah, exactly.
Muppets Christmas Carol.
Yeah.
Then-
Exactly. You got to hit that deadline.
Exactly.
That's another
You
one.
start December 1st.
I have not seen Muppets Christmas Carol, I think, since I was a kid. So that might be one that I watched this year instead of Home Alone, because I feel like I owe it to Kermit.
Yep, exactly. And he's peak Kermit the Frog. Is Bob Cratchit.
Exactly.
Do you know what's so funny as well? I had watched, I think it was just on the telly, like a few years ago or whatever, A Christmas Carol, and they were talking about Bob Cratchit, and then he appeared on screen, and I was confused as to why he wasn't a frog.
I think
And then I had to remind myself, no, Catherine, the frog is a Muppet. This is the actual story.
I think that might have happened to me when I was a kid. I think I genuinely think like Muppets Christmas Carol was the first time I saw the Christmas Carol story played out, and I think I genuinely did.
Yeah, same.
I think there was like, I think it must have just been like, again, my mum having the TV on, and there must have just been like, because I've just got like flashes in my mind of like various Christmas Carol movies, but I know I haven't seen like that many. I think I've just seen bits of loads of them, and I do think as a kid I like watched like a couple scenes of a Christmas Carol movie, and I was just like this movie's going a really long time without any Muppets being in it. Like, what is going on? And I don't know if it genuinely had to be pointed out to me that it was not a Muppets. Like there are other versions of A Christmas Carol, not just the Muppets one.
The Muppets did not write The Christmas Carol.
Exactly. So yeah, I feel you on that one. Oh dear.
Yeah. What about you? Have you got any other Christmas?
One I was going to ask is, and again, it doesn't count as we've already established that it doesn't count. It's not going to count as a Christmas movie. But I am curious because obviously we both love horrors. Have you ever seen Krampus?
I haven't. No, I've seen a lot about it. Like, I've watched a lot of trailers and stuff for it, but I couldn't even tell you why I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I'm the same, to be honest. Like, it's on my radar. I think it's always been on my radar.
Yeah.
I just have. I guess it's probably is that thing of like, you can't really watch Krampus like any other time of year. In that sense, it probably does qualify as a Christmas movie, but it's also, there's no cheese, there's no warmth. Like, I've not seen it, but I assume it's not. It's not that happy a film. But yeah, it is, again, there's probably like a quite a narrow window that you can realistically get away with watching Krampus.
Yeah. I feel like it's that thing we were talking about as well, though, where I don't really want to sit and watch people being attacked by some weird Christmas monster.
Yeah. Again, I think as like a premise, it's just not that exciting, is it? Like, it just it doesn't really seem like the Polar Express. You're just kind of like, why is movie like? There's no need, because you can do, again, you could, like, you know, the snow and the cold and the dark are all very effective for like horrors, but.
The Shining.
Yeah. Exactly. But yeah, when you start doing the Christmassy stuff, I feel like, again, it just kind of works against what you're doing. Like, I feel like it takes away from the horror element. I assume I've not seen it, but I feel like the Christmassy stuff would actually take away some of the tension, some of the maybe the atmosphere that the movie would like to sort of depict.
Yeah. That's a good point. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think I'll watch it at some point just because I'm curious. But
yeah, I'll let you watch it first, and then you can.
Fair enough. Jingle All the Way was another one. I did say that earlier in the podcast, but yeah, I am a big fan of Arnold. So
Jingle All the Way.
I do.
That's a goodie.
Yeah, I know. I need to like just work my way through all these Christmassy movies while I've got the chance.
Yeah, you need to, like, me and my bestie, because we met in uni, so we stayed in halls together, and then we had a flat just until last year. So last year we decided that we would have a whole day where we would just sit and watch Christmas movies. So that's what we did. Ours is coming up this year. So you should do that. You should grab some pals and just spend the whole day watching Christmas movies. Get a wee list going.
That was actually a very good idea. I make myself some Bailey's hot chocolates and.
Yeah, exactly. Do that. Get yourself some actual chocolates and sweeties and stuff.
Yeah.
And a blanket and your Christmas jumper, and you're set.
That's a very good idea. Do you know what? I think I will.
You should.
Cool. So obviously, moving away from the Christmassy theme a little bit, Are there any films coming out or coming up? Because this is something we never talk about. We never really talk about upcoming movies and our sort of feelings and stuff on them. Are there any films in the future, near or far, that you're looking forward to seeing?
Yes, I've quite a few. I realised as I was doing my research.
Okay, wow.
One of them that I have been excited for a while because they were talking about it a while ago is Death on the Nile, which would be the next
Agatha
Poirot
Christie.
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Kenneth Branagh. We've spoken about Murder on the Orient Express before. It's an ensemble cast done correctly.
It is actually, yeah. Oh, fair play for
Yeah.
it.
So I'm hoping that Death on the Nile will be the same kind of thing. It's funny because I've only actually seen two of the kind of original Agatha Christie movies, and that is Murder on the Orient Express and Death on the Nile.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, so I'm excited to see that. Also, I watched the trailer recently, and Dawn French and Jennifer Saunders are both in it. So that'll be very funny.
I did not even, somehow I missed the fact it's a trailer. I've not even seen it. I don't even
Oh,
know.
I think I had just seen like kind of teaser trailers, but I looked up the trailer the other day when I was kind of writing about it. But it looks good. I think Poirot's so like Agatha Christie's obviously renowned for like murder mysteries. She's like queen of murder mysteries. So I think if nothing else, it'll be like a good story. And I think Kenneth Branagh does a really good job directing as well from his movies that I've seen. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, no, I think that's a very good pick actually. One that I would not have thought of, but
No.
yeah, I actually am like, because I don't know anything about the Death and Nile story as well. Whereas I went into, that was one thing that was, I went into Murder on the Orient Express not having seen any other version of it, but I knew the outcome. So that did kind of like taint it a little bit, I think. Whereas like I'd like to watch like another Agatha Christie story play out where I don't know where it's going.
Yeah, and you could try and figure it out as it was going.
Exactly. So yeah, I'm with you on that one. I think I'm quite hyped for Kenneth's big mustache to make a return.
Yeah. His mustache is slightly different in this one as well.
Is it? Oh, no, I'm really interested. There's mustache development.
Exactly. Another one I was looking forward to is Scream, which is the 5th installment in the Scream series.
Yeah.
This is another one that I had. It's been on my radar for a while because I remember reading that Sidney, Gale, and Dewey from the original cast are all coming back, which I think they're the only people in the series that are still alive from the start.
Fair enough.
And I looked I watched the trailer, and it does look like it has the same kind of like super kind of meta vibes, which is what made the first one so good. So I'm hoping that this one is up to par. I think I enjoyed the fourth one. I think it was obviously really different because it was shot so long after. It was kind of like a different group of people. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the 5th one. Have you seen the 4th one or any of them?
So again, my relationship with the Scream movies is really weird, where I don't think I've properly seen them. I think I've seen bits of the second one on TV when I was younger. Like, again, I don't know how, but I think I just remember being somewhere and seeing bits of it on TV, and not really knowing like context, what was going on. I think I watched like maybe a few scenes, and I had my first ever girlfriend was like a proper fanatic for those movies. But what she did was she told me beat by beat in depth basically everything that happened in those films, and then was like, oh, let's watch them. And I don't even think we did watch them. I think maybe we did. We either did or we watched parts of them, or maybe just the first one.
You were like, I've heard enough.
Yeah, it might have just been the first one we watched, and I think I was kind of like, I'm not enjoying this. Like, I should be. Like, I feel like I could. But I was just really bitter about the fact I was like, why did you tell me everything that happened in depth? Like, what a weird way to try and like indoctrinate someone to like a movie franchise that you love, is to spoil the whole thing and then make them watch it. Like,
yeah, That's
So
bizarre. I would make them watch it and then make them suffer through my blow by blow of the movie.
exactly, and I would have been very happy doing that. But yeah, so I kind of feel like that I've never really gone back to them. I again intended to. Like I think every time it comes up to like Halloween time and it's perfect time for watching horror, I always kind of think, oh, I should watch Scream, and give it a chance, and see what I think of it now. But I just kind of never get around to it. So I think I'm pretty sure I have seen the fourth one though, because I think that came out when we were together. So I'm pretty sure I watched it with her, and it was the first time. Like obviously she was seeing it, so she didn't ruin that one for me.
Phew.
But also I don't think I really cared about it because.
Yeah.
So.
The fourth one's not too bad if that was the first one you'd seen all the way through, because you kind of don't need to see the first three.
Yeah. Fair.
And there's enough exposition in there that you could figure out what was going on.
Have you ever watched the TV show?
I think I started to, but it was very like teen drama, so
Is it? Because
up.
I had friends who watched it and they really rated it. I think they might have said that it does start off a bit like, I think they might have given me like a disclaimer because they were like, it doesn't start off great, but it does get really good. But I remember they were like very into it, like really into it.
Oh, yeah.
So it might be worth revisiting if
I might, yeah.
Um,
After the fifth one comes out, I'll start again.
Exactly, interesting content.
Another one was Downton Abbey 2, just because I enjoyed the TV show. I enjoyed the first movie. I've written here that I would say it's a guilty pleasure, but I'm not even embarrassed by it because I think it's so good, and I feel like if people like gave it a chance, it's one of those ones once you accept it and you just get into it, you get so into it.
See, that was because I went to the cinema recently and there was a trailer for it. But I didn't even know there was like a new one coming out beforehand. And my flatmate who I was seeing the movie with, me and him actually had like a brief discussion where we were talking about that because neither of us watched Downton Abbey, neither of us really like care about it. But it's one of those where I was like, I feel like it's one of those that once you start watching it and once you start caring about like the characters and the world that is built, then you do get like really into it and you do like and I was like, I get that. It's just I think the hard bit is probably just getting into it. I think it's not because it's like slow and periody. I think it's
I think it's really funny as well because the people that I know that so my mum's watched it. And I remember her telling me that after a while my dad would be like, oh, are you watching Downton? And then he would get in on it and sit down and watch it. And then my best friend, she was watching it. And then after a while her boyfriend was like, oh, are you watching Downton without me? So you just need to give it a chance.
Fair. I feel like there's probably the time will come, I think, when I eventually end up watching some Downton Abbey. I'm not against it. Like I'm not. It's not like I would turn my nose up at it or anything. Because again, I'm aware that it's supposed to be very good. So I'll watch anything as long as it's supposed to be decent, really, or maybe not. In case of Krampus. But yeah, like I would definitely give it a chance. I'm just also aware that it is a big investment as well because it's not like how many seasons are there?
I think there's either 4 or 6, and then there'll be 2 movies now.
Exactly.
And they're like I think the seasons are reasonably hefty. Like it's not like a 6 episode season kind of show.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. Looking at it, it doesn't feel like it would be.
Another one was one that I just discovered while I was doing my research, and that's a movie simply called Nope. And that's the new Jordan Peele movie that's coming out.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like there's a poster for it, isn't there?
Yeah, there's a poster. I think the poster, from what I could tell, is really the only thing that's been released. There's no synopsis or tagline or anything like that. So
is there a release date?
You don't really know. I've written down here July.
Oh really?
Yeah.
That's very exciting. I am very very interested to see what he does next. Because are you a fan of you've seen both of the films, haven't you?
Uh-huh.
I as much as I think Get Out is a much stronger movie than Us, but at the same time, like the idea behind Us is so good. There's so many good moments. I think it doesn't quite come together is like the way it should. I think it does kind of like the back part of the movie does kind of let it down, but at the same time, like I had a great time watching it.
Yeah,
And
100%.
even if
I went to
even
the cinema to see Us actually because I enjoyed Get Out so much.
yeah, same, and that's the thing. Like I would, even if it's like it doesn't have to be as good as Get Out. I will still be more than happy if his next film is as good as Us, because it's still like a really high caliber for a movie to hit.
Yeah, it's got Daniel Kaluuya
Was
in
he
it
in
as
it?
well.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so he's in it. So he's amazing. Jordan Peele's amazing. They've worked together before, so
Yeah,
high hopes.
exactly. It is a
I think
strong
it's
recipe for success.
yeah. It's obviously a very well thought of like campaign strategy or whatever. Not campaign, like release strategy where you don't know anything about it, so it makes it more intriguing.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I feel like he's one of those filmmakers that can kind of get away with that, and his name
Yeah.
alone does kind of like sell you on the film, like yeah, which I guess like Ari Aster or for me Christopher Nolan generally.
Yeah.
Although that said,
Yeah. And then
sorry, I was just
oh
gonna
no,
say
what were you saying?
that being said, I'm actually more interested in seeing Jordan Peele's next film than I am in seeing Christopher Nolan's next film.
Oh, I don't know anything about Christopher Nolan's next film.
He's doing one on I think it's Oppenheimer, the guy who made the nuclear bomb.
Oh.
Yeah. So which is, I'm sure there'll be a lot there and it'll be interesting, but I'm not gonna lie, I'm not that like I'll go see it, but I'm not like the premise of that doesn't make me like go, oh, I need to see that film.
Yeah, I've been saying for years that they need to make a movie about him.
Exactly, big Oppenheimer stan over here.
Yeah.
He's been on my wish list for ages. Thanks, Nolan. You're really making dreams come true.
Oh, that's funny. I think the very last one I wanted to mention was Baz Luhrmann's bringing out another movie.
Is he?
Simply called Elvis. So I think that could, yeah.
I'm
So
there for
that
that.
could be good. There's a lot of scope for that to be amazing, I feel.
Yep, I actually, his name and the name of that movie, knowing absolutely nothing about it, I'm interested. I'm keen. Like that just feels like a really good fit.
Yeah, do you know what? As I was scrolling through, I was like, yes.
Yeah, I'm on board. Is that that next year as well?
Yes, I didn't write down the date for that one, but I'm pretty sure it's coming out next year.
I'm there for that. And
What about you?
So, you mentioned a couple of the ones that I would definitely have up there. I guess the two ones that are in the immediate, like there's movies that are sort of far off. I feel really bad because like when I was making my list, I just like so many of mine are like franchise films, like which I hate. I hate a bit myself, but it's because like the sort of independent movies that I love, the standalone films that I love generally, they come out, they get like I hear like a positive buzz around it, and then I watch them and love them, but there's not really much hype like leading up to them. Like my favorite film of this year, then like last year, and like probably most years will be like is unlikely to be like a franchise film, but at the same time, like I think they've generally been films that I have like been surprised by. So, but I'm very very excited for the new Dune for part 2, because which I'm very glad is actually happening. And it's just a big fan of Denis Villeneuve, and I again not having read the book or knowing where it's going or anything, I'm excited just to see where the story goes. I'm
Because you went to see the first part, didn't you?
Yeah, I did, and I had a very good time.
I still haven't seen it or finished the book.
Well, I mean, the movie doesn't finish the book, so you're on the same
fair.
page there. I'm very buzzing. Again, I'm kind of like, I'm definitely not where I am a big fan of Marvel movies because I genuinely think they are like pretty entertaining. And obviously talked about this before. I think I appreciate what they managed to build, and the amount of like effort and care that's kind of gone into that and maintaining it, and some of the directions they take are pretty interesting. But that being said, the last like few Marvel movies, I've enjoyed them, like I've not been blown away by them, and I'm not super hyped for that many in the future. But the one that I am really looking forward to is the new Thor, just because it's Taika Waititi again, and I really dug Ragnarok just because I mean Taika Waititi's fantastic. Like he's very funny and imaginative. And I'm just looking forward to, like, I don't really care what happens in like the story. I don't really like Thor can do anything. But I just want to kind of like, I'm just looking forward to sitting in the cinema and having a good time watching it.
Fair. Yep.
I think one in the very near future that I keep getting surprised at how hyped I am for is the new Matrix film.
Oh, of course. See,
Right.
I've seen the first. How many is there
3.
currently?
Yeah, 3.
There's 3 currently, or this is the third one coming out?
No, it's the 4th one coming out. There's 3 currently.
I think I've only seen the first 2. I did really enjoy the first one. The second one, I was a bit like, ugh. So I haven't even watched the third one. So
That is very
I think
fair.
I would probably, when it came out, I would probably like rewatch the first few. I probably wouldn't go to the cinema to see it, but I think once it starts playing on the telly, I'll watch it.
You'll be there for it.
Yeah.
I like. I know that the Matrix sequels get like a lot of flack. I like as a kid. I think they were like one of the first like sort of adult movies that I watched as a kid. Like I didn't really.
Yeah, we were like a really good age, weren't we, when they came out to like really get into them.
And I remember because I had to wait obviously for. I think I saw the first one just before the second one was coming out, or maybe not. Maybe actually, I think I maybe watched the first one as the second one was like coming out onto DVD, because obviously I had to watch it on DVD. And then I remember because the second and third were shot like back to back, so I think there was like a year between the releases. And I remember seeing like adverts on buses for like the third Matrix film, and as a kid I remember just being like, oh, I really want to see the third Matrix, like I need to know what happens. And it was really like painful knowing that the movie was out and it was in cinemas, but I couldn't watch it. Like I had to wait until it came out on DVD or video, which I may actually
That's
even
sad.
watched it on as well. I know, exactly. So I had like a 6-month wait when the movie was actually out. But I remember watching it with Mom. Had a woman she was friends with, and her 2 kids were round, and all of us as a collective watched the last Matrix movie for like the first time together. And I just remember like it was just a really nice experience. Like when I was a kid, and there's a lot of like action in those movies, and I just, like was constantly I was just very excited by that. Like it's not something, not
They are
films.
pretty cool movies, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because I've got a friend who he's really not hot on the Matrix films. I don't even think he's actually seen them all. Similar to you, I think he's maybe seen the first one. But he says that the Matrix movies annoy him because he's like, they annoy him because it's like they're trying to be cool. And I was like, well, in the defense of like the first Matrix in particular, like it genuinely was cool when it came out.
It's cool.
Like a lot of the things that you look at and you know are now like almost like silly to think of as cool, like the leather and the sunglasses and stuff like that, and all that stuff that's now like, yeah. But at the time, it was like the thing that made those things cool. Which is kind of funny. But yeah, like I just again. I feel like if I rewatch the Matrix movies now, I'm probably, the sequels in particular, I'm probably not going to enjoy them nearly as much as I would like to. But that's why I also kind of feel like, you know, the fourth one doesn't really need to happen. And even like from the direction, from what I know about the story from like the trailer and stuff, I'm not that like, I'm not blown away by like the premise or anything. But that being said, every single time I've seen the trailer a lot the last few months, just like in the cinema when I've got to see other films. Every single time it comes on, I'm like, I'm really excited for this film. Like I just don't really know why, but
That's
I just
amazing.
like I literally just I see a poster and I'm like, yeah, it's coming out soon. It just like keeps
I
surprising
love to think
me.
that the makers are just like, they're just really capitalising on like Keanu Reeves being such a big thing just now. They're like, oh, we had him first, let's get him back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, he's Keanu's a good. I'm really happy with how like big Keanu is as well, because by all accounts he's just like lovely. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Pretty sure with the Matrix movies, he actually took like a pay cut so that the VFX artists could get paid more. Um,
That's crazy.
yeah, exactly. Because
Just
that's
a good guy.
yeah, just an all round good guy. But yeah, that is probably the biggest one on my list. And it's probably the most I've been excited for a film in a while. And again, it's just like I don't really know why. There is like because you know like these like legacy sequels and like nostalgia sort of baity movies are like really frequent now. You know, obviously with like the Star Wars movies and Jurassic World and just like all of them. And generally, like, you know, I think I'm kind of tired of a lot of them. Like, there's a lot of movies still coming out that are even like the new Spider-Man that's coming out. I am looking forward to it. Like, I think it's I'm gonna have a really good time with it. And obviously they've not confirmed anything, but there's a lot of expectation that there's gonna be like some nice callbacks to like or nice inclusion of like elements of the original.
Oh yeah, is there not like are Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire not meant to be in it or something?
They're not confirmed. Well, they're actually been denied to be in it, but everything around the movie seems to indicate that they're going to be in it. Which again, like, you know, it will be nice nostalgia and stuff, but I am aware that it does also feel like a cheap sort of nostalgic trick. So that I as much as
like we'll pull in the Andrew Garfield fans and the Tobey Maguire fans.
Exactly. So it's like I'm not as excited for that as I feel like I should be. But The Matrix, again, inexplicably, I just am really, really buzzing for.
I love it.
So yeah, that's gonna be my big one. All the rest
Yeah.
is.
What about when is the second Avatar movie coming out? Is it next year?
I think it's supposed to be next year. That is yeah. I was tempted to mention.
What are your thoughts on that?
I think the most mental thing about that is so that movie was originally pegged for a 2014 release. That movie was supposed to come out like 7 years ago and is still not here. And it's the development of that one is so weird because like he just keeps adding more sequels and it just keeps taking longer and longer for them to come.
Yeah. I feel like Avatar was a good enough movie on its own to be a standalone movie.
It's weird like, because I mean I am conflicted because I know people that like vehemently hate Avatar. I remember enjoying it in the cinema. I've got it. Like I've not rewatched it in a very long time. I've not felt the need to. I feel like if I did, I would enjoy it again. And I was a huge.
Yeah, I've seen it a couple of times, and both times. Well, I didn't really enjoy it the first time, but it's just I think maybe I've watched it 3 times. The second and third time I enjoyed it.
And it's a James Cameron movie. It's, you know, he's a great filmmaker.
Yeah.
And the thing is as well is like this is the thing that I keep reminding myself is he is very, very, very good at sequels. Like he's only done 2, but they are like pretty much 2 of the best sequels ever made. So I feel like if anyone can like make this a really good movie, because I think like the Terminator movies, like the first one I think is a really solid like sort of like tense movie with like a really cool concept and a really like well constructed story. But I don't, as much as I really like the first Terminator, it's not on my you know, it's not one of my like top 10 films. I'm not like blown away by it. But the second one I love so much, and I feel like, you know, it's entirely possible that you could do something similar with Avatar, where the first one I think for most people they were like, yeah, it's like a solid enough movie, but he could genuinely do something really like really big with the second one. So I'm definitely curious. Like I'm definitely gonna see it. I'm definitely like interested to see what he does with it. But at the same time, like I don't have any like hype for it.
No, that's fair. How many sequels is he up to now, or how many?
I think there's going to be 5 altogether, so I think they're making 4 sequels. Also, I'm sure like because I'm sure someone was talking to me about it recently, and I looked up the movie, and I saw the cast, and I can't remember now in detail like who the cast what the cast consisted of, but I remember there been some like unexpectedly like, weird feeling choices. Like I'm sure Vin Diesel is in it. And yeah, I know, and I just that just feels really wrong to me.
Yeah.
It's not like Vin Diesel. It's not like Vin Diesel can't do sci-fi. Like I'm a surprisingly big fan of the Riddick movies, but like I just for some reason he just does not feel like he should be in an Avatar sequel.
No, that's weird. Maybe he's just maybe James Cameron's a big fan of Vin Fast and Furious, and he's been like, "Oh, we had Michelle Rodriguez in the first movie. Why don't we have another Fast and Furious star in the second movie?"
That's an impressive link. Nicely done. I had never in a million years have put together they were like there was like a connection there. That's gonna be.
What did I say? I know my Fast and Furious cast.
Apparently you do. The biggest like impression Avatar had on me was I used to go to the gym in Glasgow with a friend, and there was a guy who looked exactly like the villain. He used to work.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we used to really.
Did you avoid him like the plague?
No, we just really got a kick of seeing him there, like because he was there all the time. We just really got a kick out of seeing him there all the time.
So funny.
Talk about it all the time. It was great. Like it just made me really happy. But yeah, that's like the biggest
That's
impact
amazing.
I feel like the film's had. That, and again, I've got a friend who, like, we've had like, or I've attempted to have like long, involved, drunk discussions with him because he hates the movie so much, and I really, I just find it really interesting to explore that. like I genuinely find
That's
it really
amazing.
interesting to just like to open that box. But I think multiple times he has actually had to like say to me, we can't continue this conversation, or he's had to leave the room, or someone else, I'm pretty sure a girlfriend of his at one point actually said, Sam, you need to stop this conversation, okay? Like, he's getting...
She's probably heard it all before.
She definitely had. But yeah, so
That's
those...
so funny.
What about you? Do you think you'll go see them?
I think I'll probably go and see them. I think we'll do one at a time. I think I'll definitely go and see the second one, because I never got to see the first one in the cinema.
Did you not? Wow.
No, I just wasn't keen. I've only watched it, like, when did it come out?
2009.
I think I watched it like, yeah, I must have watched it for the first time just maybe like 3 years ago.
Wow. Wow, you got on the Avatar train late.
Yeah.
That is nuts.
And I feel really bad because it was me and my best friend and Ryan that were watching it, and he was a big fan. And I think me and Fiona might have been slightly tipsy. So we just spent the whole movie tearing it to shreds.
Amazing.
And we were like, ha ha ha, what's he doing now? So it kind of ruined it for Ryan a little bit, but it was very funny for us.
Which version of the film did you watch? Because there are 2 extended cuts.
I probably wouldn't have consented to an extended cut, so...
I actually rate the extended cut. I don't think it's a movie that needs to be longer, but the extra scenes are maybe actually like I find better than some like a lot of the original scenes. So it's a weird one where like, but to be fair, I feel that with like the Hobbit movies as well, where like I've seen the extended cuts of like the first 2, and the first one in particular, I remember thinking like some of my favorite scenes in that movie are probably the extended scenes that they've added, which is just really bizarre.
That's a shame. I remember, because first time I watched Lord of the Rings, it was an extended cut that I watched, so if ever I watch it now, which is very rarely, I'm like, is there not a bit when...
Yeah, he's really thrown.
Every time I watch it, I forget that I've seen an extended cut, and I'm always like, what?
Bits of the movie missing. Yeah, that's fair. Well, I'm curious if...
It doesn't help that I'm never 100% paying attention to Lord of the Rings, so that could be the issue as well.
Yeah, fair. Well, I'm curious if the Avatar sequels will have their extended cuts as well. This is going to be a running thing.
Wow. Can you imagine once all 5 are released? How many hours is that going to be?
Oh my god. Yeah, I know.
A lot.
It'll be interesting for sure to one day talk about. If we even live to see like all 5
If
of
we
these,
live that long.
He's taking that long with the second one. Like, my god.
Yeah.
Oh, anyway.
Very funny.
On that note, I feel like that's a good point to wrap things up. So Christmas pun intended. So as ever, thank you very much, Catherine, for taking the time.
No, thank you. That was very fun. I always enjoy chatting about Christmas movies.
Yeah, me too. It was a lovely discussion. I'm glad that we agree as well on what a Christmas movie is as well, because that could have swung the podcast in a very different direction.
Yeah, like when we were first talking about it, I was being quite vague to try and feel out what your feelings about Die Hard was. Yeah, because people feel strongly about that.
That's probably one of the most like involved movie like arguments that people commonly have, because it's so common, that one as well. Where are you on the Christmas movie scale?
That's why I'm always straight away like, haven't seen it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just staying away from this one.
Yeah.
I don't want anyone to cry. But
Exactly.
but yes, no. Thank you very much, Catherine. So for our next episode, Catherine will be hosting, and I'm very excited to see what you bring. It'll be our last podcast of the year, so no pressure.
Yeah, I know. If only it was the 21st podcast 21 at the end of 2021, but alas, it didn't work out that way.
I know, that would have been really nice. Oh well. And there's no way the last podcast of 2022 is going to be podcast 22. So
Yeah.
we had one chance and we blew it.
This is like your James Bond thing all over again. The 2007 thing.
Don't get me started. Let's not open that box. Anyway, thank you as well to those who watched, and have a very Merry Christmas. So until next time, farewell.
See ya.